HBO Lantern showrunner Chris Mundy just did a press tour. He talked about casting Aaron Pierre as John Stewart, the reverence, the physicality, the quiet authority. He talked about Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, the Chuck Yeager vibe, the dry wit, the throwback hero. He talked about making it accessible, like True Detective, grounding it in real emotion, balancing the mythology with human drama. And then he said something about Hal Jordan and his constructs that all Green Lantern fans really need to read between the lines on. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Court of Lore. I'm Frank McGuire, and I'm here with my co-host, Rich Herrera, and this is The Real Deal on Made Up Shit. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we drop new content every week. On this video, we're diving into those Lantern interviews that Chris Mundy just did with Men's Health magazine. The internet's blowing up over this, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this, Rich, but X is just on fire. And clearly, Chris Mundy has a real man crush on Aaron Pierre. Like, let's be real, based on those quotes. It definitely looks like there's a real love for this showrunner for his lead here. And it seems to me like the main takeaway that I get from this is that John Stewart is going to be the focus. There's going to be a baton passed here. There's going to be a torch passed here. It's not necessarily going to have any real focus on Hal Jordan as a Green Lantern. I think Hal is basically there to facilitate the passing of the torch. Was that the same vibe that you got?
Yeah, I think, every new show has an audience surrogate, especially in that first season. Somebody for us to identify with as we walk through this new world, right? And I think John Stewart is that guy for us as the audience surrogate. It's going to be Hal Jordan has been doing it for a while, and this is very much we talked about being like True Detective. This is very much like a cop show. You have Hal Jordan, played by Kyle Chandler, is going to be the grizzled vet. John Stewart, I think, is going to be the new Lantern that's learning the ropes. And, he probably wants to go by the book. And Hal Jordan's probably going to be like playing it fast and loose. It's going to have, I think, all those tropes, all those tropes of the grizzled vet and the young rookie, evidenced by some of the things that he said in here. I'm for it. I'm glad that if we get Hal Jordan for one season and then John Stewart picks it up from there, you kind of think about the Green Lantern mantle. I think there's three main Green Lanterns that a lot of people kind of call their Green Lantern, depending on the run or the generation that you grew up with. You have Hal Jordan, you got John Stewart, and you got Kyle Rayner. Those are your big three lanterns that people are like, that's my lantern.
Yeah.
So I think here you're going to bring in those two, and John Stewart carrying the lantern, so to speak, for the rest of the series, I think is not a bad choice. I like John Stewart. I grew up with Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and John Stewart was the Lantern in that show for the most part. So I love it. I love Aaron Pierre as John Stewart when he was in that Netflix show. I can't remember the name of it, but excellent. Rebel Ridge, yeah. Loved that show. And he was a big part of why I liked that show. So to see him as John Stewart, I thought was really good choice in casting.
Cool. I like that you brought up the Justice League Unlimited, because I think that's a really good signal to the showrunners and to the HBO brass and to, the DC brass, that John Stewart has a lot of crossover ability with a lot of different audiences, and, the other series I think that doesn't get discussed enough or isn't up, as high as sort of on the top of mind of DC fans as much as the Justice League series or Justice League Unlimited, is the Green Lantern animated series, the 3D, the 3D one they did with Hal Jordan and Kilowog, and obviously Razor, which was a massively popular character with the fans, and Ava. I think for some reason Hal Jordan hasn't been able to cross over into these new generations as much as Kyle Rayner has and as much as John Stewart has. And honestly, I think John Stewart has crossed over and made more headway with the younger generation than Kyle Rayner has. Let's get back to this Men's Health interview. I want to get a little bit deeper into that. What was one of the quotes that really stood out for you?
When I heard buddy cop, I know when they're doing these interviews, they're kind of shooting off the cuff a little bit and maybe not necessarily thinking of the right words to say, but buddy cop to me screams comedy. And I know Lanterns isn't that. So maybe for a lack of a better term, just buddy cop came out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Because when I looked at Chris Mundy's IMDb, Very much not buddy comedy. He is a dark, gritty crime drama guy. He did Ozark, True Detective, Criminal Minds for a lot of episodes. Low Winter Sun. I mean, he's Hell on Wheels. I mean, this guy is dark, gritty. So when he said the words buddy cop, I don't think that's what he meant. I think he just meant that this is going to be what we just talked about, the tropes of the grizzled vet and the young rookie
Yeah.
solving crime together. So that was one that stuck out a little bit. And then when he was talking about our lanterns have the rings and all the power that they bring, I'm
Yeah.
like,
The
you're on a
creativity.
TV. Yeah, you're on a TV budget. How much power can you show
Yeah.
on a TV budget? So I don't know if we're going to see a lot of ring slinging. I guarantee you're probably going to see some in the first episode and maybe midway through and then at the end. But this is going to be a talkie show. There's going to be a lot of talkie because you don't
Yeah.
have the budget to be sling ringing like you did on Superman's. I don't
Do
know.
we know the budget for the show though? Do we know like
I don't know.
No,
I
I
haven't
don't know
read
the budget
anything.
either, right? Like I have no idea. But here's the thing. All the images, all the press photos we've seen for this show, all like on-set photography we've seen has Hal and Aaron in street clothes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Hal's wearing a ring, but my impression is that Hal's come to Earth in pursuit of a criminal and his ring's out of juice. And I almost feel like we're going to see the entire first season with Hal with no power, like a non-functioning power ring.
That would be disappointing.
It would be. It would be
really disappointing.
But that's the sense I get. Like if you look at how disheveled he is, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at how disheveled Kyle Chandler looks as Hal Jordan, like that jacket he's wearing is like freaking filthy. It almost looks like he landed on Earth naked and had to put together a wardrobe from like, some United Way bin or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's the way it kind of strikes me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's an ill-fitting jacket. The sleeves are kind of like almost over his hand.
Yeah.
It looks dirty. He looks rough. And then right beside him, you have John Stewart kind of looking stoic, eyes on whatever he's looking at. He's looking out into the distance. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's only so much you can read into a picture, but yeah, I mean, he looks worse for the wear there.
Yeah, it almost looks like he ran out of power and he didn't have any clothes under his suit and he got kind of screwed. That's what it kind of rings for me. But like, I want to be optimistic because I like a lot of what Chris Mundy was saying in this interview. It sounds like he really did his homework. It sounds like he really gets these characters. It sounds like he's really committed to creating a lot of chemistry between the two characters. What I don't want to see is that typical archetypal young man, old man, banter and back and forth. Like we've seen that 1,000 times. Like just give me something a little bit newer. Like I don't want to see anybody going back to the cliche bin and just dusting off the old stuff and trying to pass it off as something new and exciting. That's definitely one of my concerns with this series. However, like I said, though, Mundy has said a lot where he's instilled a lot of confidence in me as far as what he said about the creativity behind the constructs, what he said about his understanding of how John is. Like, John is not just a Marine. John's a creative. John is this. John is that. John is this multi-layered, multi-dimensional figure that has all this complexity to him. And yeah, he sort of, I don't want to say he was reductive in his description about Hal Jordan as a character. I felt like he was a little bit reductive about his description of him, about how he uses his powers. Like what he said about like, he just likes to make a big fist and smash things. I don't think it's that simple. What I really think it is Hal Jordan is a test pilot. He's a combat veteran. And what I think is happening with Hal is he's a pragmatic. He thinks practically. He's not trying to make his constructs look good. He's just trying to come up with a construct that's going to do the job. And if he feels like it's a giant fist that's going to do the job, that's what he's going to do because that's how he's trained, right? He's trained to think instinctually and to use his reflexes. And I think that goes into his ring slinging and his whole makeup as a character. So I kind of feel like that, like, and this is what I was saying at the top. I feel like that one line where he says he just likes to make fists and smash things. Like, I feel like that's a very reductive look at Hal Jordan and how he functions as a Green Lantern. I think Hal is far more multidimensional than that. And he's got more depth than that. And we've seen Hal in the comic books go to some really complex emotional places. You know what I mean? He's not as simplistic character as much as people want to try and convince you convince you that he is. The one things that the Green Lanterns deliver over and over and over again are complex characters that are multi-layered. And I think that's something that is a hallmark of the Green Lantern Corps, a hallmark of Green Lantern characters. What did you think about Mundy's comment about Hal Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of the rings is that they're based on emotion, right? All the spectrum of the colors of the rings. So that allows you to dive deep into the psyche of these characters based on what they do with the rings, right? So I think what Mundy's doing here when he was saying old versus new, I think if the only lanterns we're going to see are Jordan, Guy Gardner, and Aaron John Stewart, then we may run into this like old dog new tricks thing where Hal's just used to doing it one way and then John Stewart comes in and shows him a different way. He's like, okay. So I think we're going to see a lot of that on here based on what we're reading a little bit. And then you throw Guy Gardner in the mix. I don't know where he fits in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, Hal Jordan is representing that old school Green Lantern. And like you were saying, his constructs are what gets the job done at that moment, because as a test pilot, you have to think fast, you have to think quick, and a hammer is easier to think of than, whatever complicated construct that
John Stewart's
bring.
cooking up. Yeah. Or Kyle.
And the reason why Hal Jordan was picked as a Green Lantern is because of his incredibly strong willpower, not because he can make really cool looking constructs like Kyle Rayner and John Stewart. So he gets the job done with a big fist. He gets the job done with a big fist. I hope they don't play that as being him being a simpleton Green Lantern. I just think I hope they play it like, look, this is how I do it. This is how you do it. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and let's just get the job done. But I think Hal Jordan's going to learn some things from John Stewart during this first season, if this is a baton passing of a show, he'll learn some things, and he'll learn a new side of Green Lanterns that maybe John shows him. So we'll see.
Yeah. But that's why I raised the issue of like, I hope they don't dumb this down. I hope they don't simplify it. I hope we don't just go back to cliches, right? Of the old guy and the young guy, because that's what I'm saying. That comment that Mundy made about, Hal making a fist and smashing things just sounds like he just sees Hal as like oversimplified and single-minded. Hal has much more depth than that. The other thing I hope we don't fall into, and I want to get your thoughts on this, I don't want to see the old white guy, young black guy. Like, I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a very tense time as far as racially and generationally. And I just don't want to see them try and live there the entire time. Like, I don't want that to be the only way that they create drama and the only way that they create controversy and the only way that they create tension between the characters.
What do you mean by old white guy, young black guy dynamic? Specifically, what do you mean?
Like diving into the prototypical, stereotypical old white guy type of right? Like making him problematic, having him use problematic language without knowing it.
Slightly racist?
Yeah, like slightly racist. Yes. I mean, or slightly insensitive or whatever, right? Like, I don't want to see that because that's never been Hal Jordan to me ever.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case, because that's not Hal Jordan in the comics, and to make that into the TV show would be disingenuous. I think it's going to be old tricks versus new tricks. It's going to be Hal showing him he's going to kick in the front door with a big green fist, and John Stewart's going to make a lockpick. It's going to be that. I think it's going to be a mentor mentee type of relationship. I don't see race being played as a part of this, other than maybe they encounter something and John Stewart's treated differently, and maybe there's a lesson to be taught there. But I don't see Hal Jordan being the source of the racism in that sense.
No, I'm not saying Hal is going to be racist. What I'm saying, okay, so you know what a microaggression is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm saying Hal being more of the microaggression. Like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not aware of how this may be offensive to somebody, or may not even thinking that what he's saying is offensive. I'm saying I don't want to see that version of Hal Jordan, right? And while you're saying, it'll be, new tricks versus old tricks. And I love what you're saying. That's a great way of summarizing the story that should be. What I'm saying is that we live in a tumultuous time, and Hollywood has not been lackadaisical in their efforts to steer away from these type of controversies. They steer into them, and they exacerbate them, and they amplify them. And with Damon Lindelof being one of the producers on Lanterns, and with what he did with The Watchmen, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely could go there. He definitely could go there. And I like Lindelof. I'm a big Lindelof fan. I think Damon Lindelof is one of the best creative minds in all of Hollywood. But I just want them to stick to what we all want to see, Hal and John at their best. I want to see them be space cops on Earth, because I don't think we're going to space. I hate to burst people's bubbles, but I don't think we're going to space. And so there's one other quote I wanted to dive into that I think is really, really cool. So it sounds like Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre have a real natural chemistry on set already, and they're really kind of playing it up. It's almost like they're waiting for the chemistry to get to a certain level, and then they're turning on the camera, which is what I would do. It's like I wait until like they're joking around and laughing and be like, okay, guys, here we go. Let's do this. Everybody get staged. Let's rock and roll. Right. But it almost sounds like they've got this natural chemistry, and that's what's going to flow into the show itself. Because from what I read from Mundy, he's like, yeah, they're always kidding each other. And, Kyle Chandler is always like making jokes about him being young, and Pierre's like, bouncing back with jokes about Chandler being old. So I think that's a really cool sign. I think that's a really cool signal to have going into this series. What were your thoughts on that particular quote?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that the chemistry is like that on the show. So when we talked about buddy comedy, it's okay to have a little bit of humor in there. And if we're talking, if this show is going to be like Kyle's the old veteran and John's the new rookie, you're probably going to see some Will Smith new hotness versus old and busted kind of Men in Black type of banter back and forth early on.
Good reference. Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So kind of thinking about that could be a good way to establish that dynamic between the two. And then something serious happens, and then they got to get it together. Right. So there's going to be some of that, I think. So if they are really offset, kind of kidding around with each other and hanging out and getting to know each other and kidding around, then you're going to see that being displayed on screen, I think. So looking forward to that. But yeah, reading this whole article, I'm all in on this Lantern series. I mean,
me too.
Chris Mundy's bona fides speak for themselves. He is executive producing what he knows, which is dark, gritty crime dramas. So
yeah,
this is why he was hired to do this show, because of that particular vision. And the cast, I think, I was looking at the Lanterns cast. It's fairly stacked. I mean, you have the two main ones there, and then you got, of course, Nathan Fillion, trying to figure out how he's going to fit in. If anybody's going to do the microaggressions, it's going to be Nathan Fillion, and it's going to be played for laughs. So I think that could be where that maybe slips in for laughs, and then he's in the cameo and out. Garrett Dillahunt's going to be in there, which is great. I don't know who this guy is, Jeremy Irvine, but under the cast it says Alan Scott, so we're going to get a fourth Lantern in here, which is pretty cool. So
who's Dillahunt playing?
Dillahunt's playing a guy named William Macon. I don't know that name from the comics, so I don't know what his.
And the guy from Banshee is playing Sinestro.
Yeah, Ulrich Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah. He looks the part.
He was crazy in Banshee.
Yeah.
He was crazy in Banshee. Yeah.
And then you got Jason Ritter playing Billy Macon, which I'm guessing is either a brother to William Macon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, the other indication I got was that there's going to be a little bit of time jumping around too. There's going to be some different timelines in this series. My guess is that the crime happened in the past. They're dealing with it in the future. Very similar to, True Detective in a couple of different stories, where we jump around or we're sort of investigating it in the future, and we're doing flashbacks to the past and all that. I think that may be the direction that we're going with this. Yeah, no, it's an exciting project. It's an exciting project. So one last question I got to ask you. Okay. Total hypothetical scenario. They finished the series. It's this cutting, amazing, gritty, dark crime drama, character driven. We all love it. Not one construct and nothing having to do with space. How do you feel?
I will feel it would be a missed opportunity. But if the story is there and the acting is there, and I love the characters and I love their motivation and I love what they do, then I'm probably still going to like the show. But I will say that if they don't do any ring slinging, if there's not a visit to Oa, if there's not a recharging of the ring of some sort, then I will say it's a missed opportunity. But I mean, you can't have a Green Lantern show without a little bit of ring slinging. So
I agree.
it'll be there. It's just I don't know how much we're going to see on a TV budget. I mean, I'm thinking back to like Superman and Lois, right? Superman and Lois, you can tell where the budget went because there's a lot of special effects in one episode and like nothing in another episode. So you're just going to see a lot of that. And if you're okay with that, then this could possibly be a really great show just based on who Hal Jordan and John Stewart is as characters, as people, without having to rely on the special effects and the ring and all that. So, on one hand, I kind of do want to see it, maybe a depowered Hal Jordan for an episode or two to see what he does without it, and then he gets the ring and then decides the power was within him all along, blah blah blah. kind of trope. But the friends we made along the way. Yeah, so it'll be a missed opportunity if they don't do anything and it's just superhero true detective. But if the story's there and the characters are there and the motivations and we all can identify and empathize with these characters, and then it'll still be a win for me.
Is Sinestro going to be purple?
Not the whole time. I
Vegas
have a feeling
wants to know.
What's that?
Vegas wants to know.
Yeah. I'm going to say not the whole time. I think if your time jump thing is true, we or being that this is Earth based, maybe we probably won't see purple. He'll have some sort of weird like shape shifting ability or some power to his ring to change his appearance. So we probably won't see purple again. Budget. And again, the man probably, doesn't want to sit in a makeup chair for 8 hours. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But I'm imagining it'll be, if it's more Earth-based, we're going to see some shape-shifting, some disguising, some Mission Impossible rubber mask pulling off thing, something like that. But no, he won't be purple the whole time, but he should be at some point.
I think Sinestro is going to be still a Green Lantern in this. I don't think he's going to be a Yellow Lantern. I think what's happening is Sinestro is the one that's Sinestro is the one suspected of the crime, and that's where the story is going to jump off from.
So this could be as much a villain origin story as a John Stewart origin story.
Yeah, because like when you look at Sinestro, he can go one of two ways. So there's a lot of real estate to kind of build a story around him. He's one of those villains you can actually build a story around. Like you can actually turn him into somewhat of an identifiable villain. Or a relatable villain really quickly. You just have to tap the right vein. So he's one of those really flexible villains. Anyways, guys, listen, we hope you enjoyed this video. Come back and check out the rest of our content. We've got full, long form episodes. We've got short videos. We got clips. And be sure to subscribe. Be sure to follow us everywhere on social media at Court of Lore HQ. We are going to be actually doing some giveaways probably around the Christmas time period. I might give away a Nintendo Switch. I'm kind of playing around with that idea again. Yeah, man. So catch us for the next one. Peace.